The greatness of a man is not how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively. Now, this is a quote from Bob Marley, and this quote addresses one of the main reasons I created Hippie Fari, the beautiful, life-changing message of reggae music. It was created for social change, and its message is as strong today as it was in the 60s when the first reggae records were released in Jamaica. So welcome to another episode of Hippie Fari Reggae Radio and Podcast, recorded live in the Omen Honey Reggae Radio and Media Studios in beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida. I am your host, Scotty the High Strung Hippie. And Hippie Fari is a podcast where we discuss all things reggae. So if reggae music is your thing, you are in the right place. So tonight, we have a special guest in the studio. We're diving into the heartbeat behind the stage, the booking agent who connects the artist to the people and keeps the touring wheels turning. From reggae rock to hip-hop, Americana to punk. He's been quite possibly one of the most powerful people behind the scenes shaping the independent live music circuit. He's the one behind the tours of artists like Kyle Smith, Josh Heinrichs, the Palmer Squares, Dale and the Z-Dubs, Sons of Paradise. If I went down the whole list, the podcast would be over. And a whole roster that reads like a playlist for the modern roots revolution. We're not just talking contracts and venues, we're tapping into the why. What makes a band worth booking, and how do you keep your soul rooted in the chaos of the road? And what does it take to build a career on connecting vibes with the right stages? So grab your tea and tune in your frequency. We're building bridges from the green rooms to the grassroots tonight. So let's welcome our guest, Tim Azzy, to the studio. Tim, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Scotty? Not much over here. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to being on Hippie Fari, man.
That's fantastic, bro. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure from the first email I sent you to now. You've been awesome to work with. So the bands obviously are very blessed to have you on their team. 100%. I can tell just from our short interaction, you're the complete stand-up guy. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on, man.
Oh, of course, man, and thank you for that. Absolutely, I'm humbled and just honored to work with all the bands that I work with. They're the people that pay my bills. I help them pay their bills, and we all kind of just have the same mutual goals and everything. So it just works out together. It's all communication and transparency.
Absolutely, 100%, man. That's what it takes. Yes, having that, and having that personal relationship with them. But, also keeping it very professional. I was a restaurant manager, and I know, managing people, you can, they can like you, but you definitely got to keep it professional. So, and I know we were talking a little bit about that before the podcast started. You do what you got to do, but you definitely keep it on the pro tip, which is very cool, man.
Heck yeah, man.
So,
I definitely agree. Honestly, most, if not all, of the bands I work with, we pretty much were friends first, or I was a fan first, and that's how we all got into it, totally. That's
so cool, man. Before I start with the questions, I just wanted to say that. That's really cool, to be fans of a band that now work side by side with. That's really neat, man. That's kind of when it goes from being work to fun, right?
Absolutely. It definitely does, man. And, it goes both ways. Like I remember asking several of the artists I work with for a few years to work with them. And, a lot of them understand their finances and the budget and where they are in space and time. And so the same way, artists will ask me to book them, and I don't necessarily take them on right away. I don't want to be a disservice to new or current clients. When I feel and realize I have that space in the roster to be able to give everybody the same amount of attention, especially the ones that want to tour almost all year, then that's when I'm able to actually take more on.
Right. That's awesome, man. Touring all year. That sounds like a dream for some, but man, that's got to be a tough road, brother.
I've been out there. It's not the life for me anymore. Maybe in my 20s, but I have nothing but the utmost respect for the guys that are out there doing 200 shows a year. It's crazy.
100%. Yeah, me and my wife are huge Dead fans, and I was like, man, that's their life, like they get done with the tour. They're like, so let's, another tour, Dead and Company, it's just like, they're trucking literally.
They totally are.
So kind of what drew you into the world of booking bands? Was it like a love for the music? Obviously a love for the music.
Totally.
People, the culture, was it something else, or was it definitely that love for music that kind of drew you into it?
Everything, man. And definitely the love for music. I grew up like Northern Virginia, DC area, so punk and
Nice.
hardcore were huge. And honestly,
Yes.
punk is how I got into ska, is how I got into reggae. Luckily, had a sister who was 5 years older than me, so when I was listening to Operation Ivy, that's when I started realizing who Bad Brains were and who Bob Marley was, and that's when I started getting into it. She was probably 14, and I was probably 8 or 9. But that's definitely what got me into music. And then obviously loving playing in bands. I did love like going out and being on stage a lot. But as I got a little bit older, I definitely was looking more towards doing stuff at home. I love working from home, being with my family, with my dogs. So yeah, man, there was definitely all those things that got me into it. And then just all of the things that I've collected from jobs I've worked at in customer service and management, in dispatching and in routing schedules and stuff, all of those things just kind of went hand in hand with booking bands and routing tours. And I'm super thankful for it, man. And I'm glad I was able to pinpoint those specific things that I did in my work jobs or my jobs and my careers that actually made me able to just kind of do this from my own.
That's awesome, dude. So working with routing and stuff like that, is the Earth flat or is it round?
It's totally round, man.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that's good to know, man.
Yeah, man. You can see where I am in Denver. You can pretty much see the curvature of the Earth. It's crazy.
That's awesome. And it's really cool that you brought up Op Ivy. I am a huge roots reggae guy, 100% to the core. That's almost all I listen to. But Operation Ivy is still on my and my wife's constant rotation.
Listen to them every week, man. Definitely.
Oh, we do too.
And Rancid too, for sure.
Oh yeah, I love Rancid. I actually got to see. They opened up for. Rancid played with Guttermouth when they opened up for The Offspring when The Offspring was big, and that was a really cool show. Wasn't a huge Offspring fan, but I went because of Rancid. But man, they just absolutely killed it. And then Guttermouth was hilarious.
That is super cool. We actually had Kyle Smith on a show with Guttermouth and Less Than Jake in Long Beach a year back. It was pretty awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a Halloween night, and the lead singer for Guttermouth had pixie sticks, and he was opening them up, and everybody was sweating, and he was throwing pixie sticks, so people had like green sugar all over. It was pretty funny, man.
That sounds epic. Heck yeah, man. Now, Halloween shows are always the best. They're super fun. I'm working on a bunch right now.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Can't wait to hear about it. So, speaking of the shows, man, can you just tell us about your first show or your first, artist interaction? Kind of what made you feel like, hell yeah, this is definitely what I want to do?
So really to get to the booking part, it was doing a lot of the street teaming and promotion on the backside when I was still in Virginia, working with people like Root Fire and, like SoCal Street Team. It was kind of crazy to be working with them in California when I was in Virginia, but they were the ones helping promote all the early stick figure Iration Fortunate Youth Hyrie shows where they were playing 100 capacity venues. So my wife and I, we were the ones like grabbing handbills, grabbing flyers, taking them all to the shows that were of similar type of artists and genre and stuff like that. And just trying to help get people to those shows in the beginning. And then I started taking a real liking to the manager with Root Fire who works with the Elevators and the Movement. Reed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he brought me down to their office, and I just kind of like shadowed them a couple of days and like tried to get an idea as to what I wanted to do. Was it promotion? Was it booking? Was it managing? And it's when I realized all of that stuff I was saying before in regards to just I have a geographical mind. I like routing. I'm a communicator. I've always been in customer service, and all of those things just seem to like fall hand in hand with booking shows. And so that's really how it all happened. So in Virginia, before I left, it was all still basically volunteering and street team promotion. And my wife and I, we basically made the decision to move to San Diego. And I said, I'm going to find my way to get a music career when we get out to San Diego. And I did. And that's basically, it's just been going since then, man, 100% independent, not with any companies or anything like that, even though I do work with a lot of the big agencies and management companies and firms and stuff like that, just to try to get my bands, the more developing acts, on as support tours and on at festivals and things like that.
That's awesome, man. And I'm really, really, really stoked that you just kind of broke it down that way because, to most people are like a booking agent. What you do, he books bands. All right, well, how many people are in a band? 4 or 5. So you book 20 bands. That's 100 fucking people that you're dealing with. And that all are going different directions. So that's pretty intense. There's a lot more to it than just slapping a band on a flyer. So speaking of, what's your typical day look like? As I mean, I wouldn't want to call you a booking agent. I'm sure you do a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
But I mean, is booking it? Is that like your official?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There was a while, there was a good time when I was managing a couple bands, but it was very early on where I realized I wanted to put all of my focus into booking, and it really takes that. And managing, like you said, the managing is the more so managing the 100 people, whereas I try to either deal with a manager for each artist or just the main contact person, usually the lead singer or whoever the leader of the band is considered. So that's one thing that definitely helped me with booking a lot, was being able to alleviate some time and bring more time to my plate so that I could focus more just on the booking and everything. And to just answer your question, like a normal day is, I'm working 12 to 17-hour days, emailing, phone calls, texts. I have like 20 routing schedules up in any given day. We actually hit on this right before the call. I have one specific sheet that I have that has every artist with every month on it to make sure that they're not on top of one another, so that we're not overlapping or having similar shows too close to one another in any given market.
Right on, man. Tin, I got a question for you. How does your dog Blaze kind of play into your routine?
Blaze is awesome. Usually he's right below my feet, but sometimes once my wife leaves for work, he usually goes and finds a corner or one of his beds. He hangs out till a midday break, and we go out on a nice walk. And then when Jess gets home, when my wife gets home, we'll usually go for another walk after dinner with him. But he's doing great. He just turned 14, man, and he's definitely a major part of my day.
That's fantastic. Right on, brother. Yeah, I have my little dog, Irie. She is absolutely a daddy's girl. Well, she's a mama's girl, too. She's attached to her mom until I get home, and then she goes absolutely nuts. But yeah.
I know the type for sure.
Yep. I love it, man. Awesome. So what's cool about you is you just don't stick to one genre. You book in genres that cross reggae, rock, hip-hop, Americana, pop punk. Love pop punk, dude. I was a huge Pennywise No Effects fan. What's the common thread that you look for in an artist before bringing them on?
Man, I'm glad you said that. And to be perfectly honest, it did all start out for the most part with reggae rock. Again, that was because of friends and seeing the bands that they were starting, especially once getting to San Diego. I mean, it was every band that's out there, that's what they were doing. But I've always loved hip-hop. I've always loved Americana, folk, singer-songwriter stuff. And then I've always loved emo punk, hardcore. But really, the one answer is just seeing the passion and belief in the band or the leader of the band and in their project. And if I can see the passion and I feel the passion the same way I feel about booking, then that's what tells me that's usually someone that I want to work with.
That's beautiful, man. Right on. And it's cool that you mentioned hardcore. Were you into like the straight edge hardcore, like Earth Crisis and Snapcase and all that stuff?
Oh, man, all of that stuff. Yeah, 100%, man.
Oh, me too, man.
Yeah, it all started with Minor Threat, and then, all the Victory Records bands. Yeah, everything, man. I was totally into it.
Me and my wife just looked at each other and laughed when you said Minor Threat, in a very good way. We are diehard Ian MacKaye fans, diehard Minor Threat.
Same here, Fugazi too, man. I loved all of them, man.
Yes, that is beautiful stuff, man. And honestly, if you don't love it, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I agree, man. Heck yeah, dude, absolutely.
But with bands like Sons of Paradise, who I just had on the podcast, their podcast is coming out tomorrow. Josh Heinrichs, Dale and the Z-Dubs, tomorrow's Bad Seeds, who I'm actually having in a couple of weeks. Yeah. What makes your roster, kind of stand out in this modern roots revival scene?
I think for the most part, just a lot of them, they're really just genuine people. You can tell that they have an extreme talent in their music. A lot of times, a lot of the bands I work with, a lot of them are friends, and most of the bands, when they're taking support out and stuff, they want to be with friends. We're talking about how long it is that they're on the road. They're like a big family. So that's a lot of times how support gets picked out for artists and stuff, is they want to know they're with people who they can get along with every single day. But for the most part, all the bands I work with, they're amazing humans. They love music of all kinds, not just the style that they play. And they all have a strong belief in themselves and in their bands and projects.
Yes. That's awesome, man. Right on. So do you ever run into any challenges like booking reggae acts and scenes that lead to more like rock or punk? Like, how do you bridge those genre divides? It's gotta be tough.
It's absolutely crazy, man. I mean, there's even specific markets. Originally when I was starting to do this, that's what I would do is I would watch all the bands that I was listening to, what venues they playing. I would research the capacity of the venues. And then at that same time, look around to see other venues around those that were smaller capacities to be able to know where I'd be able to get bands into. And at the same time, even though there are smaller venues, there's venues of the same 200 capacity size that tend to lean more towards hip hop and metal, and there's some that lean more towards rock or Americana and reggae rock and stuff. But yeah, that's definitely it's definitely a thing for sure. Whenever I'm routing tours, if I know which band I'm working with, I know immediately which venues and markets I'm going to generally try to go to for the most part at first.
That's awesome, man. Right on. So one of my favorite bands, I love the guys. Z Ion's one of my good buddies, man. So
man. Joey's awesome, man. I love Z Ion.
With Drifting Roots, man. Or like the Happy, for example. Yes. Yeah. How'd you connect with them? Did you like their music and hit them up, or did they kind of come after you? How did that relationship start?
Dude, it was really awesome how our relationship started. So one of the first bands I was working with when I got into San Diego and met them was Sensi Trails, who's not really doing anything at the time.
I love them, man. They were fan-freaking-tastic, bro.
Absolutely, man. And so they were getting put on this festival called Rastapal, and that was at Garden Amphitheater in Garden Grove, legendary music venue. And I noticed that this band Drifting Roots started being in a competition it was kind of like a battle of the bands, and one of the bands was going to get put in. So really I saw how much community they had built around them with all the votes they were getting and eventually getting put on that festival. And then I found out that Matt and Drifting Roots were living in Ocean Beach and I was in Imperial Beach, San Diego. So we were really close. And then we all just eventually linked up and got them their first gig booked in San Diego at Winston's Beach Club. And that's exactly how we got linked up. And then I actually wrote a couple songs with Matt for Drifting Roots and played a couple tours with them. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, it was really great. Matt's an awesome human, man. Him and his wife, they have a baby on the way. I'm super stoked for them. And they're actually getting ready to do this Florida tour in June, July with Kyle Smith and Part One Tribe.
Yep, 100%. I'm real good friends with Rob of Part One Tribe. Z Ion, I work really closely with him. Had him on the podcast. Had him on my radio show. I used to have a clothing company. I would give him the clothes. He would sport it whenever they played. Nice. So they're just absolutely fantastic people, man. They're definitely down for the vibe, 100%.
I love that. They totally are, man. Absolutely. I love working with Drifting Roots.
Absolutely. And speaking of somebody who I think would be amazing to work with, you work with legends like Ian Young, who's absolutely one of my favorites all the way from the Tribal Seeds days to his independent stuff that he does now. And you also work with groups from like Skunk Records. How do you manage that mix of like veteran artists and rising talent? Because, you're working with some of the vets and then you're working with some of the brand new guys. It's got to be a different kind of approach, right?
It's super crazy, man. I was humbled, literally from Perro Bravo and Skunk Records and Miguel having worked, alongside Bradley. It was just amazing to work with them. I love working with Miguel. They don't do a lot, he's still doing the Long Beach dub thing. Then a lot of the band members, they're also doing other projects. But whenever we do get the opportunity to work together, it's always amazing. The shows are always great. But it's super cool working with artists like them, like Ian Young, like you said. A lot of them when they're going out, they're supporting some of these larger acts, but I'm always submitting them on festivals and support tours for those larger acts. And whenever they want to do headline stuff, I'm always booking those too. Same with Josh Heinrichs. He goes out, he's doing a headline run right now, but we tend to send him out quite a bit with Fortunate Youth. All of them are friends. All of them tend to go out and tour together.
That's absolutely fantastic, man. And speaking of, what I just kind of brought up with working with the vets and then working with, the brand new artists, do you find some bands need maybe more guidance with booking and others are just like way more independent? And if so, is there like, how do you balance that?
A lot. That's honestly one of the other things in regards to, the communication and the geography. A lot of it has to do with working with all different types of people too. And understanding, what type of person each musician, artist, or manager is. But there's a lot of artists and a lot of managers that are completely easy to work with, no kickback on the routing or the length of drive time. The offers and things like that. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, you get every single last detail being questioned or saying the set times won't work, or no, this offer's no good, or we're not going to drive more than 5 hours to get to the next show. And that's difficult because of radius clauses in general with festivals and show dates. You know, you got to keep them separated and not on top of one another. But honestly, that's what makes it challenging. And the challenging stuff is what makes me just work a little bit harder.
That's absolutely fantastic, man. You know, like I said, I was a restaurant manager for 17 years, and you know, you're different personalities, man. You know, it's not micromanaging, but you do have to manage each person individually. You know, because what you might be able to say to, you know, a grown man, you can't say to, you know, an 18-year-old girl, because she's going to start crying. You know what I mean? So, I'm sure you definitely kind of take that same approach. You know, you don't manage everybody the exact same way. You kind of break it down person by person.
It's so true. And I have to take a step back sometimes and say, I'm 45 and they're 25. You know, I've got to put myself in their shoes again. And it's difficult sometimes to do. Like, you're trying to kind of force education and wisdom on them, but you got to let them learn too, you know?
Sure. 100%. Yes. Amen, bro. That's really awesome. I mean, you probably wouldn't be where you are right now if you didn't have that attitude, I'm sure.
Thank you, man. No, I appreciate it. It is taxing, and it's trying, and, you know, it's exhausting. I'm tired at the end of the day, but I wouldn't want anything else, man. I absolutely love it.
That's absolutely beautiful, man. 100%. Now, you mentioned taking walks with Blaze to keep the mind clear. How important is personal wellness in staying sharp and grounded in this industry? I imagine it's a lot.
It's a lot, man. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, you totally got to keep your mind clear. You gotta have things that you're doing, that whether it's, you know, exercising or meditation or whatever, the walks with the dog. There's got to be something that you're able to specifically just shut off, and that goes with the day as well. Like, I have to. You know, the phone will be going off, emails will be going off all day and night, but you have to put up a boundary at some point, or otherwise it's going to take over your entire life. And it still does, but you have to have these times where you're not just focusing on work whatsoever.
Yeah, quote unquote unplug, right? Like the Matrix.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have to unplug.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes. So, are there any particular reggae artists or songs that you're just like, I mean, I hate to sound weird, but kind of fuel your fire. They just get you going. You know what I mean? I know you book a lot and you hear a lot, but do you have any, like, what's on your personal playlist that I know the hardcore, but as far as the reggae music goes, what's your style?
So a band I've been listening a lot to lately, especially like the last 2 years, they're more so considered funk jam, but they definitely have aspects of reggae in their music, and it's Big Something from North Carolina.
Right on.
And even like they have electronic, jam, funk, a lot of reggae rock stuff in it too. And I think they more so started off as reggae rock, and then they kind of phased into this more jam, electronic sound. But they're just amazing. That's the type of stuff that I'm trying to find. I love that kind of music.
That's awesome, dude. Well, I'm definitely going to have to check them out. I really hate saying that I've never heard of a band before, but I haven't heard of them, but I have now, and I'm really excited about listening to it. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I highly recommend checking them out. And then I obviously have some faves that I always listen to. Like, I love The Movement. You know, there's always Slightly Stupid in the mix, without a doubt.
Sure.
I love some stick figure stuff. My wife loves Hyrie, so we listen to a lot of Hyrie.
Right on.
I actually listen to a lot of Mike Pinto, Joey Harcum, and Kyle Smith, too. I love their music. And that it's a little different, a little edgier, and just stepping outside of just reggae. Not that I don't like reggae. I love reggae, but I just love that there's something identifiable that not just I hear, that promoters and buyers can hear. And that's one thing that they're looking to try and just change it up and get stuff that's different.
Sure, 100%, man. Yeah, keeping it fresh, you know?
Heck yeah, absolutely, man.
Absolutely. You got to rotate the produce, man.
Totally. You know it.
So what's one mantra, quote, or, you know, lesson that you kind of return to navigate, you know, the hustle of touring and talent management?
There's not really any specific mantra other than, you know, what you put out is what comes back, you know?
Right.
And that's what I try to tell everybody too, you know, leave it all out there. You know, every time you leave the stage, everybody should be wanting more, whatever
Sure.
it is you're doing to make that happen. And that's just kind of how I am too. I thrive on being 100% transparent with everybody that I work with. Just full on communication from the actual getting holds on a date up until the settlement of the night of the show. Like I want everybody to understand that it should just be 100% transparency.
Yes, 100%. Yes, I think that crosses boundaries and just life in general. You know what I mean? The more
Totally.
transparent you are, the easier just it is to, especially in a business setting, to work with somebody. Because you know where they're coming from.
Yeah, exactly, man. The hard conversations are the ones that need to be had. You don't want to not communicate. So whatever it is that you need to do, take a friend out for a dinner or a drink or whatever. But whatever it is, it's just, I'm all about the communication. I think that's where success lies, is everybody knowing what's going on from front to back.
Yes, and I know that for an absolute fact, because I was completely amazed when I sent you an email, or I mean back and forth. You were emailing me like it was texting, and I was like, this guy, he's on top of this, man. That's amazing. Most people don't check their emails till like the end of the day. You were just like, boom.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was
have
definitely
to do
impressed
that,
with that.
and if I don't, then I will just hate life the next morning when I go into a full
inbox. Right.
And it's still full every morning anyways. But I just got to watch that thing dwindle down a little bit, and then I know I'm ready for the next day.
Absolutely, man. So what is the most misunderstood part of being a booking agent?
I mean, I think a lot of people might think that you make a ton of money, but I mean, just like the bands that are out there, there's not really money, not just in touring, but in music in itself, until there is. And that's one of the main and first transparent discussions I always have with any artist that I'm getting ready to take on is touring is an investment until it's not. You're going to come back in the red on tours just because of gas and hotel expenses and emergencies that come up out of nowhere. And I mean, that's really it, but other than that, I don't know, man. I honestly love being a booking agent. It's a lot of time on the phone. It's a lot of emails and texts. But I think that would go hand in hand, and most people would know that. Sure. Yeah, man. There's nothing really particular coming to mind, but those things.
Right on, man. And have you heard of the Three Little Birds band camp?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, for the touring bands, that was a really, really cool concept that was started by a couple of my close friends, Shannon, and the crew here in the Daytona Beach area. So definitely very cool. Yeah, where you can save a penny, especially if you're a touring band. It's after, Wawa, Taco Bell or whatever, a six-pack of beer and a hotel room, you have nothing.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Dude, exactly. And I mean, literally almost every band I work with, if they don't have a manager, even the ones that do have managers, someone in the band is taking the lead, finding that crash pad every single night that they're out touring. Not just the nights you're playing, but the additional nights you're off, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or whatever. And I mean, those things are how they do actually come back and they're not in the red, because they are saving that money and not having to pay hotel expenses every night.
100%, man. So let's just kind of get to this. What, in your eyes, what makes a band bookable? Is it numbers? Is it stage presence, hustle, vibe? Maybe all four?
It's definitely all of that. It is. It's a lot of that. To make a band bookable, a lot of bands will think their Instagram followers or their Spotify numbers will equate to getting great offers and will equate to a promoter and a buyer wanting to book you, but it's not necessarily true. And it goes the opposite way too for local bands that a promoter and a buyer know in a specific market, this band will draw 150 people or 200 people or 300 people. Their monthly followers or listeners and streams on Spotify are low. Their Instagram followers are low. So I try not to get too hyper focused on one specific thing in regards to analytics and stuff like that. But all of them help. All of them help. Stage presence is the biggest thing for touring live. Stage presence being someone who other bands want to work with, not going over your sound check time, not going over your set time. All of those are huge. And then for me also, I want to see that they are communicating. If they don't have a manager who's communicating, I need someone who every time I send a text or an email or call, they're going to respond. I have to have information and responses, because that's literally just what the whole operation in business relies on is communication and finding out if this date's going to work. Is this offer going to work? Yeah, a lot of it comes down to just making sure that they're going to communicate as well. But again, everybody I work with, I don't know anything negative about the people I work with. Everybody is a humble and awesome human being. They're all extremely passionate about not just music, but their band and their projects. And all of that has a lot to do with being bookable too.
That's absolutely fantastic. And like you said, obviously the communication, when you reach out to somebody, they're going to have to reach back out to you, because if they don't, I could imagine, you have a question lingering for a week. And if you got 20 of those, and then you get all the answers at different, you need the answers right then to be able to make the process work. So,
You're exactly right, man. I mean, I'll set alarms all day long and write notes to myself just around the computer. But it's a huge time management thing. There are those times where I'm waiting on 20 responses from 20 different people. And then at those times you're just sitting around and you're like, well, what do I do? Like, I'm in limbo. I can't even move forward on anything. And that could be something as simple as a counter offer for a festival. We already have holds on that weekend for different markets, but if we get the festival offer, we would need to route a different way for the most part. So I'm actually tied up in one of those right now, and it's been like 3 weeks since the initial offer and our counter offer. So we're just waiting on a response to be able to route it properly for October.
Yeah, wow, that's absolutely amazing, man. Good grief. Like I said, a lot more goes into it than just slapping a name on a flyer, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. A lot of people don't even know, like collecting holds for a band, like what a first hold, second hold, fourth hold, 10th hold are. When I'm routing a band, again, I'm focusing on specific capacity venues. Some venues we know to go to already because of the genre of music. And so I'm trying to get a bunch of those for the primary, secondary, tertiary markets. And when I reach out, I'll give them a time frame, and they'll come back with each day. You're either 2 hold, 6 hold, 4 hold. And what that means is just you have other artists or management teams in front of you that have those holds. And if you want to take that date, then you have to present a package. You have to accept the offer, and then you have to challenge all of them in front of you. And if all of those, if you were the 6 hold, if the 5 in front of you say they don't want it, then you get the date. So it's almost like a competitive sport.
Wow.
I mean, especially even since COVID and since all the bands, all they wanted to do was to tour after the pandemic. It's like a competitive sport. It's crazy.
That's unbelievable, man. And I've been in quite a few bands my entire life. I had no idea what the hell the holds were. So obviously the bands I were in weren't even close to being
No, I hear that, man. And that's where it is too. A lot of bands in the beginning, especially when they don't have an agent or someone reaching out to them, they already know that contact. So they just say, what dates do you got open? And that's how you get booked.
Yes, 100%, man. That's awesome,
totally.
Dude. So what's next?
Tour just takes a tiny bit more just to make everything happen logistically, financially. I tell everyone I need to be 6 months out to make something happen, like a tour of a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, because if there's any hiccups, you want to fix it beforehand, not during, right?
Exactly, man. Yeah, and it can take that full 6 months to get them booked, to get them announced. It'll take about 6 months sometimes from front to back.
That's insane, bro. Wow, man. I'm extremely impressed. That is so awesome. So what's next for you and your roster this year? Any major tours, festivals? I'm sure there's a lot. Projects
that
people should know about.
Oh, man, absolutely. I got a few things written down. Josh Heinrichs just did California Roots, and he's with Skill and Jaw and 77 Jefferson. They're doing some Pacific Northwest dates this weekend. Let's see. Then, like I said, Drifting Roots, they're going to be out with Part 1 Tribe and Kyle Smith in June. The High Hopes Fest, which is the old weekend at Wolfie's up in Pennsylvania. I got, Mike Pinto, Josh Heinrichs, Joey Harcum, Kyle Smith on that one. Point Break Fest in Virginia Beach.
Yes,
I got Dale Z-Dubs, Kyle Smith. That's just a massive lineup. Same with Everwild, massive lineup on that one out in Legend Valley, Thornville, Ohio. And then the Higher Education Fest, which is just getting announced. I think he's doing another announcement. It's up in Worcester, Massachusetts. Got bands like Palmer Squares, Joey Harcum, Josh Heinrichs, Dale Z-Dubs, Crooked Coast going up there. So, yeah, man, they're definitely staying busy. And as for tours, I got Aaron Wolf going out on tour with the Harbor Boys. They're going to be down in Florida in July. I got Vanalia doing some dates in June. Tomorrow's Bad Seeds with Pipe Down doing some California dates in June.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, everyone's staying busy.
Yeah, tomorrow's Bad Seeds. They are. I think they got like 60 shows coming up or something. I don't know. There's a lot. Their roster. I kind of looked. They're definitely hitting it pretty hard.
Moy was out for some medical stuff last year, but once he got all squared away and 100%, he just said, I need the schedule full. So they've been playing catch up from that. So, the schedule's definitely full this year.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Right on. So if listeners want to connect, maybe submit music to you, for possibly, having you as their booking agent or just kind of follow the work you do, where should they reach out?
To just reach out, especially to submit for support, reach out to bookingwithtim@gmail.com. Super simple, no spaces, no punctuation, bookingwithtim@gmail.com. And then for anyone that just wants to see, what kind of tours I have booked and where artists are going to be, you can feel free to check my Instagram out. It's just @tim.azzy, A-Z-Z-Y.
Cool.
And that's generally where I'll post all tour art, flyers, and announcements and stuff like that.
That's awesome, man. Right on. So is there any final messages for the fans or artists or promoters listening who absolutely just love this culture?
Just do it for the passion and do it for the music, man.
Hey, man, I'm not going to lie to you, Tim. I thought this podcast was going to last a lot longer. I had these questions, but I finally ran into somebody who talks as fast as I do.
Heck yeah, man. And I think it's not just that. I think when you're passionate about stuff, those answers just fly out, man.
Dude, that's only been 35 minutes. Good grief. Well, that was, that was a lot of information. Sometimes you don't need to drag it out for an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I'm all about it, man. And I'm a time-saving guy. Absolutely, dude. I'm all about time management. So, but no, man, it's been awesome talking to you. You asked all the right questions. I hope it's been informative to anybody listening, and definitely reach out and check the Instagram for everybody coming out.
Well, that was absolutely incredible, Tim. I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy, how you just described, schedule to be able to come on. It was all about communication. When I first hit you up, we communicated the whole way, and I kind of failed, and you had to remind me what time the podcast was. Good thing I didn't show up 2 hours later. I'd have been doing a podcast by myself. But thank you so much,
great, man. Dude. You've been a pleasure to work with. Really, Scotty. Thank you so much.
That's so dope, man. Yes, and I love, I have a lot of bands on. It was really, really, really refreshing to have you on and kind of get that side of the industry. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of people they have no idea. I'm going to see a band. They have no idea what goes into that band actually getting there. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. I totally agree. 100%.
Well, thank you so much, Tim. And there is strength in unity, so build your community. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok. Shoot me an email, hippiefarirareggae@gmail.com, and check out my website, hippiefari.podbean.com. I am the only Hippie Fari on the entire planet. You Google me, you will find me. And this is Scotty, the high-strung hippie, and Kira, the Irie Empress, reminding you to speak your mind before somebody else does it for you. And do something nice for somebody today. Grab flowers for your partner. Smoke out a stranger. Slip the homeless man a buck. But whatever you do, do it from the heart. All good things start with the heart. Peace, love, and roster rhythms are all a part of that reggae revolution. One love, fam.
Much love, brother.